Could Caleb Williams win the Heisman 2 years in a row and potentially be in the conversation, if he isn't already, for greatest college football quarterback of all time? But before we dive into it, please go ahead and hit that like and the subscribe button. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are. I know a lot of you OU fans, y'all are going to be a little salty about this conversation, but it's one we got to have, and it's one I definitely want to hear from you guys about. So, Caleb Williams, your 2022 Heisman Trophy winner, completed 333 attempts out of completions out of 500 attempts, threw for 4,500 yards, 42 touchdowns, only had 5 interceptions, only rushed for 382 yards and 10 touchdowns. In my opinion, I didn't think he was the Heisman winner for 2022. I really liked I wouldn't say true freshman, but a redshirt freshman in Drake Maye, who threw for 4,300 yards, 38 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, but rushed for 698 yards and 7 touchdowns. Listen, both guys, they were incredible to their own teams. If you take either one of them out, both of those teams are down the hole. But we're talking about, can Caleb Williams win his second straight Heisman? And I think the answer is simply yes. I think it's going to be a tougher road because if you're Caleb Williams in USC, you have an exponentially harder schedule this year, with your last 6 games being just an absolute gauntlet. At Notre Dame, Utah at home, at California, which should be an easier one. But then you've got Washington at home, at Oregon, and then UCLA. So you got one really good cupcake game in there. After that, all of those games USC could lose. If USC runs the table and only loses one game or goes undefeated, then yeah, you're saying Caleb Williams probably has another 4,500-yard season, probably throwing up another 45 touchdowns, maybe another 10 or 12 in the rushing category. And it's definitely possible because although he's losing Jordan Addison as one of his wide receivers on the offensive side of the ball, you're getting one of the most dynamic wide receivers I think that we've seen in a while out of the 2023 class, Zachariah Branch, who, yeah, he's going to start. He's probably already the best wide receiver on that team for USC. And then you've got other guys like, I believe, Kyle Ford. You're going to have, I believe, Brendan Rice still there. You'll have Mario Williams, who a lot of you remember that connection of Caleb Williams and Mario Williams at Oklahoma. But who could potentially be in Caleb Williams' way? And I think that's what we really have to look at, because you have a lot of quarterbacks returning this year that could potentially get in his way of winning the Heisman, even if he goes and puts up a stellar season. The first one you have to look at is Michael Penix Jr., the guy who threw for almost 4,700 yards, 31 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Michael Penix Jr., who had spent 4 years at Indiana, comes to Washington, lights it up in the Pac-12. And again, if we're talking about USC's schedule, you go look at what Washington has to do all season. They really don't have that hard of a schedule. You got Michigan State at Michigan State on your schedule, Oregon, at USC, Utah. Those are really their 4 games where you look at it and go, that's a tough schedule. If they produce another season where they're 11-2, 12-1, I think you're talking about Michael Penix Jr. this year as that quarterback that could be challenging Caleb Williams for that top spot. But I can't go without saying, what about the quarterback out there at North Carolina, who so many people talked about this year about potentially entering the portal and starting this NIL rush that, well, never really came? Drake Maye, who threw for 4,400 yards, 38 touchdowns, only 7 interceptions, but is dynamic with his feet. 698 yards, 7 touchdowns. Could Drake Maye be the guy that steps up and says, no, Caleb, it's not going to be that easy to a second straight Heisman Trophy? Or could it be a quarterback that I really like, one that I think could go to the NFL and maybe snuff some noise in the combine? Jordan Travis, the 6'1", 201-pound quarterback. I think he'll be a senior this year out of Florida State. Started his career at Florida State. He's played 4 straight years there. This will be his 5th year at Florida State, final year. And he gets to make some statements. The first game of the season against LSU. Last year, he did 3,200 yards, 24 touchdowns, and 5 interceptions. Pretty good. Pretty good average. Sacked 15 times. But that Florida State offensive line, they get a little bit better. Well, the run game is going to open up for Florida State. And then Jordan Travis will have an easier time distributing the ball. And again, looking at Florida State's schedule, I told you, they get to make a statement in week 1 against LSU. Then, 2 weeks later, you got to go play at Clemson. You start the season 4-0, you're going to be one of the hottest teams and potentially a favorite to come out of the ACC because your schedule at that point is pretty easy. Your next hardest game, probably either Miami or at Florida. So if you're Florida State, you're Jordan Travis, you go and have a show-out performance against LSU at home, or, well, I think that's a neutral site game, and then at Clemson, you're in the driver's seat. And you're definitely putting yourself up there for success. There are a couple guys, though, we haven't really talked about that could try to challenge some of these other guys. And that's a Dillon Gabriel at Oklahoma, a Quinn Ewers down at Texas. Shoot, you've even got guys like, I think Clayton Tune, I think he has another year of eligibility down there at Houston. He threw up 4,000 yards this season. No big deal. No big deal. Oh, wait. Well, no, he's a senior. He probably ain't returning. Sam Hartman. Guys like that, they're definitely going to have an opportunity to put their name out there and potentially try to go after it. But Caleb Williams, again, I think the path is clear and it's defined. You go out there and you have a season like you did last season with the schedule that you have in front of you. You've got a shot at this. You've got a shot to deliver Lincoln Riley another Heisman Trophy to add to that just incredible resume that he has for these quarterbacks. The question at that point is, which Parker Thune has a couple times provided, if Caleb Williams is going to be that great of a quarterback, he's going to go number 1 in the draft. Does a team fire their head coach and go all in on Lincoln Riley and Caleb Williams? And honestly, if that happens in the NFL, I'm here for it. I think it'd be fun. So if you guys haven't already, please go ahead, jump down in the comments below. Let me know what y'all's thoughts are. Does Caleb Williams repeat as the Heisman Trophy winner, or do you take the field and somebody else win it? Additionally, if you haven't already, please go ahead, hit that like and the subscribe button. I want to hear from you guys. What do you think about the show? You guys want to hit that notification bell because you guys want to be in the know about all the college content that we are bringing.